comfortable in recording this session. So here we are having our awesome speaker. We are having Annie Minasian, who is the head of banking system in IT from the Reserve Bank of Australia. Thank you, Annie, for taking the time out. I heard a lot about you, and I'm looking forward to have a good conversation with you. So Annie has extensive experience. She was hands-on as well. She has done a lot of digital acceleration programs with various organizations. And her skills are problem solving, inspiring people, creating a trusted and high performance IT organization that drive business change and growth. So I'm sure like you are heading up to a big thing in RBA, so we are looking forward to hear from you. We are having second speaker, Michelle Butler, who is the vice president and head of managed services in Capgemini. I have a few conversation, a very short conversation with Michelle, but I can add she's a very big promoter of the women in technology as well. And she has worked a lot in that space. So very excited to have Michelle you on board. Michelle also have several years of experience, and I want to know what that several years of experience is. She explicitly mentioned several, and and she started her career as a programmer, and she has served various managed services clients, 50 plus in ANZ region alone. So looking forward to hear from you, Michelle. Katie, and I think so. People who are from MuleSoft, Capgemini, and who are hands-on or who are in the journey of automation, they might have known Katie already. Katie Dell, she's a global head of automation partner enablement, and one of the things which might some of you don't know, she is a mom of three. So, and she's still doing a great job. So I'm very much looking forward to know some tips. So with that, welcome all the speakers, and really appreciate for taking the time out over here, and looking forward for the question. So, and with me, we are having Swarnima as well, who will be moderating with me with this panel discussion. And as I said, please, everyone, feel free to put your questions whatever you feel like asking to our speakers, because this is a great opportunity for us to have all the burning questions out and being answered by the actual leaders. So probably I'll stop sharing, because why to share the slide when we have actually speakers with us? It's virtual, but still it's good. All right. So probably I'll start with Annie, with you. You are having such extensive experience over the year. You have delivered many digital transformation programs. You were hands-on as well. So I want to know how it all started for you, why you chose to be in IT, and what are the major milestone or projects or experience which has led to be a successful leader.
Thank you, Sanal. Thank you, MuleSoft, for having me here today. It's a real pleasure. And before I start, I just wanted to say I'm chairing the Women in Technology at RBA. So I am pulling a team together, a committee to run similar events and get women connected. And I think that's one of my strengths, is bringing women together. Someone called out so recently, and I was quite pleased with that definite description of me. And I thought, yes, I actually do that. I love bringing women together and bringing the best out of everyone. So how did I start in technology? I think it was an aha moment from a statement that my mum made at the end of my first year of uni, and she compared my first year of uni in an arts degree with my previous intense year of HSC studies. And her one liner comment was, Annie, are you sure you're going to school? Like, are you sure you're studying? And that was a big aha moment for me, because at that stage I was doing languages, I was doing what I term now fuzzy type of subjects. I didn't know where I was going with it. There was no plan. And then when I reached out and asked the people around me, I realized that no one else knew where they were going either. We had all followed each other into an arts degree and hoping that we would land somewhere, not knowing quite where. And I thought, no, that's not what I want to do. I need a little bit more focus. What's the future? Technology, and that's changed courses. Um, and ended up in in a technology science degree, um, focused on technology. And I laugh now because if I think back to the 3 years, it I describe it as Annie and 70 guys. So we used to go from lecture to lecture, Annie and 70 guys. We used to go to the canteen together. It wasn't fun. Would I do it again? I think it kind of describes my entire career. It has been many, many meetings of Annie and a room full of gentlemen. Would I do it again? Probably not the degree, but the career, absolutely. I've loved every single minute of it. So that was my first aha moment. My mum saying to me, "Are you sure you're not working hard enough, basically, and where are you going with this?" The second one was a manager who said to me, "Annie, you're really good at organising. You're people focused. You really need to get into project management." And back in the early 90s, I don't even think it was a thing. And I came across the role, project management, took it on, and that's what I've been doing for the majority of my career. And I think moving into project delivery has allowed me to keep ahead of the technology, because there's a lot of new technology coming along all the time. And how do you keep ahead of it? Um, if you don't want to be deeply technical, and that's not what I wanted to do, because I really enjoy the people aspect and coordination, um, then that was a way for me to keep ahead of it and understand all the concepts. Being very hands-on at the start of my career, but to stay relevant. So now we're doing cloud, and we're talking about technologies such as chocolatey, cucumber. So how do you keep ahead of all these new apps that are coming out? Um, and I think the third aha moment was when I was in a I think it was a Cisco networking workshop full of, I think, architect type, all males again, and just me. And there were so many three-letter acronyms, and I was struggling to follow. And I put myself forward and I said, what XYZ? What does that mean? And the guy sitting next to me went, "Oh, I'm so glad you asked that, because we didn't know what that was either." So the aha moment was, if you don't get it, then maybe no one else in the room gets it. So don't be afraid. It's that imposter syndrome. Maybe I'm the only one that doesn't know. I'm the female in the room. Maybe I'm the not quite following. Ask the question, because chances are they don't know it either. So yeah, that's my career in a nutshell, and they're my three aha moments. And yeah, speak to people and get advice, and some of it will resonate, some of it you'll be able to relate to, and most of it you won't, and that's okay too, because your no two journeys are the same. But yeah, so put yourself out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like it, when you say how you've been challenged and then you push yourself, because most of the time we get afraid from the challenges, but challenges are the one who push us to our better self as well. So, yeah.
Wow. So and I would like to say, wow, Annie, you are a trendsetter, because definitely thanks for your courage, and thanks for doing and listening to your heart, because that is what brings us here today. We are talking to you. You are a woman in leadership. So just because you followed your heart and didn't get scared, and so I think that's amazing. So now moving ahead to Michelle. Michelle, I know you are a vice president of and head of managed services. You are leading a big team, and what I see is you have been in different roles throughout your career. So I would say that you have been in every stage of an IT person, like a system analyst, project manager, the development lead. So you have seen it from every point of view. So I would like you to share like what you think we women have special qualities or factor that makes us a good leader, or why do you think organizations should consider having more women in leadership, and why should they consider us being a leader na seriously, what different we bring to the table? What do you think, like, you being a woman in leadership is different from other na colleagues that are there or are male? So what do you think you are doing differently that is helping your team?
Thank you. And there's a lot to use the consulting language. There's a lot to unpack there. But let me start. Let me start with why do I think it's important that we have women in leadership roles fundamentally. Um, and I look at this from a number of different perspectives. I'm just going to share a few numbers, a few statistics, because I like to look at it first from a fact-based perspective, but then we'll talk about the emotional element of it and the more qualitative elements. And and I'll speak from an Australian context as much as anything else. But in the last census, 51% of the Australian population was female or identified as female. So that's fact one. And that was 2021. So I haven't gone back 1,000 years here. But then if I look at what the workplace equality, and I always get the acronyms wrong, but the WGEA, the agency, what they're reporting. So we just funnel it down. So 51% of the population is female. But yet if we look at active participation in the workforce, 46. That winds down again to full-time, 26%. So you can see it's diminishing. And then if you look at that and you say, how many are occupying positions of leadership? And I'm just, based on, this is 2021 data, 19.4% are CEOs, 32.5 have key management positions, 33% are board members, 18% are board chairs. So we're still not kind of represented 50-50 in line with the population. So that's just a bit of, let's put it, some context. And there's all kinds of numbers about when will we reach parity and equality. But now to the why. Why is it important? And there's lots of studies out there, but there's one that's fairly recent that says that there actually is a causal relationship between women on boards and in positions of leadership on profitability of an organization. So if you want the why, it just makes good business sense, because if you think, why are we in business? We're in business to be profitable. And I won't go into the statistics, but let's look at it from that perspective. But then if I turn around and I say, let's look at it more qualitatively. And I think it was Therese, I may have mispronounced it, who said, why not?
Right.
So let me ask the question, why not? If businesses are there to deliver products and services and support the population, doesn't that just make sense for the people who lead those organizations to represent the population that they lead, those leaders? And I mean, we're talking about this from a gender perspective, but if I just broaden it and be more diverse and inclusive, should not our organizations be led by people who represent the population that they serve or the population they're selling to? So that's a, why not kind of question as much as anything else. As consumers, we're much more aware now than we ever were about the ethics of an organization, how it produces the products, and it is informing our buying decisions. So from a business perspective, that's tapping into your consumers. But I will share with you something that I think really just landed. And if you haven't picked up the accent, I'm a Canadian. So I'm a long way from home. And I've had a bit of a roundabout way. It wasn't a straight journey. But in 2015, Justin Trudeau was elected as the Prime Minister of Canada. Youngest, one of the youngest prime ministers ever. And he set about creating his cabinet. And his cabinet was gender diverse, 50-50 male, female. It was culturally diverse, representing the different cultures of Canada. Because if you know Canada, we are, much like most of the world today, very, very culturally diverse. And he was asked the question, why did he do this? And I think that the response is absolutely telling. It's 2015. In other words, should have been doing this anyway. It's the right thing to do. So that's a little bit of the, why is it important for businesses to have female leaders? And, which is kind of one element of the question that you pose. I think the second element is, what do we bring that's different? That's really an interesting one, because I think we look at that from our own perspectives. So what do I think makes me different as a leader in a technology organization or a consulting organization? May be different from what Annie perhaps thinks makes her different in her industry and the like. So I just, from my perspective, what do I think that I bring that maybe a male colleague doesn't bring? And the gross generalizations. So I'm as smart and I'm as intelligent. Okay? Just let me put it out there. All right. This is, I'm like Annie. I've been the only woman in the room. I have been the boss in the room and had someone refer to someone who was not the boss in the room. Right. So I've we've all had those experiences throughout, our career. What I think I bring that's perhaps a little bit different is an empathy, maybe, of what it is to be, the only one in a room. So that makes me perhaps a little more empathetic leader when we look at our diverse cultures that we're now leading. So I get it. I don't want to say I understand it, but I can empathize. So I think I bring that. I bring, I think, to other women leaders and emerging leaders, and we talked about it at the start. You talked about it, a role model. And hey, that weighs heavy. I'll be frank. That weighs heavy on my shoulders because I'm quite conscious that people are watching.
Yes.
So I'm quite conscious about that. But I could go on, but if I just do, those are the big ones. But I do want to leave you with just the thought that we, from an intelligence perspective, and an ability to perform, an ability to do the job, I'm not any different from my colleagues.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Thanks. That were great insights, Michelle. And I'm sure what you're bringing to the table is making a difference in the organization. So with this, we will move ahead to Katie. So Katie, we know you're the global head for automation enablement. And when so that now definitely means that you're leading a big team. You have a lot of people now working with you. So you being a leader, have you faced any challenges specifically, especially related to being a woman in the leadership, that you wish you would have known earlier, or something that you would like to share with the younger generation, that okay, to be better prepared for the leadership? So is there any specific challenge you would like to share with us that you felt or faced as a women in the leadership?
Well, many challenges, I suppose, over the course. Let me think about it for a sec. So things I wish I'd known earlier. I think for me, I spent the huge chunk of the first part of my career actually working for a customer. And I think I would have probably still been there if I hadn't actually been made redundant after 12 years, because my role went, I was working for a technology that was, I guess we would call a legacy technology today, and that was actually being replaced by Salesforce. So, which, part of the MuleSoft umbrella. But I think being in that position, I kind of got to a certain point and then just didn't progress anywhere. And I also think I kind of accepted that fate at that point of my career, just thinking, oh well, I'm a mum now. I want to work part time. Like, this is what my career is going to be. And I think unless I had that massive, unless I had that massive shakeup, I probably would still be there doing a very similar role to I am today. So I think that was a massive challenge, but at the same time, it was the big turning point for me because I had to rethink everything. So I had to actually rethink, what am I even doing, what I want to do? I need to start another technology, basically start over. But that is the one thing I would take away to say that I would recommend everyone do. Like, don't get yourself to the point where you're just comfortable and working day to day. Take time, like once a quarter or once a year, just to think about where you are and what you're doing. And I think there's opportunities for everybody to do something different and to even change technologies and roles. I've kind of learned that you can achieve anything you want to if that's what you put your mind to. So I've had a couple of shifts since then. I sort of realized Salesforce was where it's at. So I wanted to learn Salesforce, put myself through all the, it's a kind of a cliche story, put yourself through the trailheads and learn on trailhead and develop a career, but that's like 100% exactly what I did. And yeah, ended up sort of working through from the partner side up to sort of the senior manager level, and never really thought that, like, all the way through, every time I had a new project, thought I was never like, what am I doing in this project? I don't know, but I don't have the skills. I haven't been even doing this technology for very long. But I think everyone is in that situation. And I think we as women probably put more pressure on ourselves. And I don't know, just think those things that I don't know our male counterparts think. I think they're more likely to think that they can do things and just go and do it, even when they can't. And we're probably more critical of ourselves and hold ourselves back a lot. So I think, like, for me, it was just doing that. And even today, like, if I have a new role today, I still don't think that, like, how did I even get here? I don't deserve this kind of thing. But just have more confidence in yourself. And if you want something, just focus on that, set the goal and take the steps, even if it's like a, one small step at a time. I've honestly do really feel that whatever you put your mind to, you can achieve. And as long as you take the time to understand what that is and put the effort into achieving it.
Thank you so much, Katie, because I think that was so relatable. At some point of time, each one of us have faced this, that we have been in a position where we have been for so long, until and unless somebody comes and shakes us up, and then we question that, okay, I think it's time to move on. So thank you for that. Yeah, Sonal, go ahead.
Yeah, Katie, I guess what one we take away that I got from all the speakers so far is technology is never a barrier. So for us to grow, technology is never being a thing. We can change it, we can learn it, not being shy from uncomfortable situations. So that's a really good takeaway, Katie. Now I'll come back more onto the points which our speaker has touched base earlier, and please pardon me because I want to ask some hard questions now. This I want to be a really good conversation. We have talked about pyramid, right, which we see in the women in leadership role, which is very much acknowledged today, which is very much being published today. People are talking about it. But I want to hear from you, like experienced people, like what you think are the factors that it's very common, and any probably you can shed that light because you said it that you are in that group where you have taken, probably when you were doing languages, no other woman would be there in with you when you were doing those classes, right? So you took that challenge that, okay, I'm fine, I want to do this and I will stick to that. But then you reached here, but there are some other women as well, right? which might not be able to reach to that the tip of the pyramid, right? So what are the factors which lead to this pyramid? Like what's your thought on it? How we can, what are the things we can do to make it better?
I think there are two things. Following on from what Katie was saying, I find often we lack the motivation or the confidence. We wait for others to say how good we are. We're waiting for validation, and you've got to know how good you are, right? So nothing can take that away from you, your brand. So if you wait for people to say, "Oh, you're fantastic. This role over here is good for you," it takes a long time, and often you get overlooked um, because and again, stereotyping, Michelle. I know I'm a big stereotyper, um, and I try very hard not to stereotype. But the guys go out, they have football talks, and they do tipping, and they're all networked and hooked in. Whereas I find us girls aren't as connected as the guys. Um, so if I look back at my career, every career step improvement I've made, it's because I've moved and I've taken that risk. And I think at the time, project management was a good way of doing it. There's lots of contract work around, there was lots of roles around. And my thing is, even to this day, I've got three things for staying in a role: interesting work, a good manager, and a good team around me. So if I'm working with really nice people, good people with the same values, and that goes for the manager, and the work is interesting, that'll keep me around more than the dollars, what I'm getting paid. So that's been a driver for me to change onto my next role every time. And every time I've come away with higher pay, better title, bigger role. And I put it down to taking ownership of my career. No one's going to do it for you. You do it. Um, and if you're out looking, reach out, use your networks. I love LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn more than I am on Facebook. It's my social media go-to, and I like to watch where everyone else is going, where my peers are at, and I compare how I'm going in my career compared to where they are. So I don't compare on handbags and cooking and all, who's going to what party. I compare on career progression, right? So I use that as my driver. The other thing, if I look back at a few people that I've managed to move out of their current roles into better roles, they've approached me and said, Annie, I want to get into this area. And sometimes you look within your team, but if you just reach out to people, everyone wants to help. It could be male, it could be female. Just reach out and say, I want to move into that area. I've been doing this for 10 years. It's time for me. I need a change. And there's times where I've seen people that are much better than the role that they're doing. And I've tapped them on the shoulder and I've said, I want you to move into this role, even people outside of my team. And I've helped people go from one particular lady recently, my latest was from comms. She was like an EA/comms to a senior project manager. Like she is wow. She's a gun project manager. And she was an arts teacher. So that she had that in the back of her mind. I'm an arts teacher. I'm only good enough to do comms, but I saw something in her that she didn't see. And I helped, I pushed her. It was a big push. And that's the other thing. I've got a couple of women now that we want to elevate into management roles, and we're getting, I don't know if I'm ready. It's not what I want to do. Grab the opportunity, run with it. And if someone thinks that you're good enough to do it, that they can be your mentor, your coach. They'll make it happen for you. They'll make sure that you don't fail. No one wants to see anyone fail. We're all here to help each other. So take the risk and go for it. And in terms of pyramid, hopefully that sort of ties into the pyramid. There are some organizations and they're just all male heavy. And if that organization is not working for you, there was one recently where I was at, and all the execs were managers, HR the exec was male, they're all male, all of them, and they sold a product that was probably more than 50% purchased by women. So when I left there horrified, and they said, oh no, we went and had a look and we couldn't find any women to fit, that would do the CFO role. And, bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you say that?
Absolutely.
You didn't look hard enough. You weren't genuine enough. So, we're
Yeah.
51% of the population.
Yeah.
I
And
came, I
Yeah.
left and I went, I'm going to boycott. I'm going to put this thing on social media to say boycott that product. And I thought against it might have been career limiting for future roles. But that was my thought, right? I was really horrified. So find an
Yeah.
organization that's women supportive and they're out there. RBA is full of women at the top. There are women everywhere. There's women that have been there. One of my business people, 46 years. Same
Yeah.
organization, still loves it, still passionate, and is about to retire. Like, find the organizations that align to your values and you will grow. Management will be there, they'll support you. And the ones that won't have women, well, it'll be their loss eventually.
Yeah. So I guess that's a very good point, Annie. You mentioned that it's the culture, it's the people around you which keeps you whole to that organization, right? And it's your motivation and plus the motivation of your colleagues or the leaders as well that bring you to the up sometime, right? Both works, right? Well, I want to ask one follow-up question with you. You said yes, it's if it's a comfortable environment, that's really good. But then you touch upon the bitter experience as well, right? Where you didn't had that experience. Do you find, and I said I am here to ask difficult question here. Do you find yourself in a room, sitting around the table, where your gender prevails over the quality that you bring onto the table? Like people don't think you are that smart. People don't think you're like those that difficult conversation where you want to say something but it's been ignored, or do you find, because you said you were in a room, right, where there were it, everyone was male, apart from you, right? So how you have kept going in those situations, because I think so most of the women in this group will agree to that as well, right? How you get going. If it's good, we all are motivated, but what if it's not good? It's not looking, those days, those meetings where we feel like, okay, what we are doing.
Look, there's been situations where I've walked away and I've thought, why did that pan out that way? Like, why was that the response? And there's research out there, and I encourage you to go away and read, some of that. Harvard produces some amazing research, and there's a few that are like 30, 40 years old, and it hasn't really changed since. But there is unconscious bias there, and I, one thing I want to say is it's not always the males that make it hard for other females. Sometimes it's the female managers, and I've had some awful female managers, and the best male managers, So we generalize. We want to see more females in leadership, but the males are just as are good. Find the good ones, and they'll be your biggest supporters. But back to the research, if you read up, there's certain things that sometimes, again, will resonate with you. One is around how women interact in those meetings, and they talk about how to overcome them. One is, and what was our recent Deputy Prime Minister, Bishop? She talks about presenting ideas, and it sort of goes on deaf ears, and her colleague will just mention that same idea, and then all of a sudden it's his idea. And it's a phenomenon. It really happens. And there's techniques around how you bring it back to, hold on, it was my idea. And some people will say, and as long as the idea is taken and run with it, then it doesn't matter whose idea it was. But sometimes you want to own it, right? So that's one. The other one recently I read up on was how women tend to ask a lot of questions in meetings. We ask and ask and ask a lot of questions, and I experienced this firsthand. And my female manager, I would fire back, like she didn't like it. And I think the thing is, if you ask too many questions, it looks like you don't understand, but you're clarifying, and maybe you're trying to take the group into on a journey, like where's this, and trying to lay out a story for them. So there's techniques around not asking questions or asking them in different ways. And although I don't like stereotyping, our personalities are different, be authentic. It helps being aware of these the slight subtleties that will help you get through those meetings. So read up, and
Yeah,
as I
that's
said, some of the advice would resonate, some of it doesn't. Some of it you'll experience firsthand. Some of it you'll see. So yeah.
that's good to know. That's good to know. Yeah. So I'll quickly jump to Michelle. Um, just if you can tell us in brief, like, how's your experience? Because I know you worked with a very large team. You worked with the people across the region, across the boundaries. You don't work with just male, you work with women as well. You work with different diverse people as well, people coming from different background, from different diversity, different levels. So how you find your subordinate um, perception towards you when they see you as leader? Does it matter if they come from different background, culture, different boundaries, different region? Uh, what's
Sorry, Sonal. I smile because I think how my team perceives or receives me. I think we'd have to ask my team. So, but just to kind of take it. So the team, just a bit of context. The team that I lead in Australia alone is 230 people, and that is supported and extended into India by another, at any point in time, 500 people, give or take, because it flexes a little bit based on the work that we're doing. So that's one lens, but I'm just going to put this in the lens of the team that's in Australia for a minute. The team that I lead, as I said, 234 people, of which less than 30% are female. So we have a 70% male-dominated team led by a female who's not Australian, who's not from this region. So we already have a little bit of a cultural challenge, but the individuals, the 5 individuals who report to me directly are all male, are all late 40s, early 50s, and with one exception, are all Asian. So, when I say they come from Asia Pacific, so the other gentleman actually comes from the UK. So right off the bat, we have different cultures. So how they receive me is really interesting, because I did ask last year, how are we working together? How might I do things differently? How might I be more supportive? Trying to be, emulating all of the characteristics that we're asking our leaders to bring to the table now, to be more inclusive, to be more open and whatnot. And not one of them said do anything different. So from that perspective, I've kind of said, yeah, I'm doing something right. But then I reflect and I think, well, how do I lead? I am an inclusive leader until I get stressed. So I have to, we all have to recognize that. So I'm an inclusive leader until I get stressed. So I seek to bring consensus, at least within the immediate leadership team. Having said that, though, the team knows sometimes I have to make the tough decisions, but I will do so in the spirit of fairness. And as much as I can, I am transparent. So I'll tell them why the decision has been made, what's behind it, etc. I think the cultural element of it is really, it's an interesting dynamic, because I think it brings a richness to how we work together that if we were all the same, would be missing. So as an example, Monday is Diwali. So I have people in the team who will be celebrating Diwali, who will be taking time off, because that's, important event in their culture and their community. I celebrate St. Patrick's Day, which very few people celebrate. So for me, that's, let's go to a pub and have a beer. which is interesting, Annie, about how males tend to socialize. But that's I'm going to the pub. Come on down, March 17th. If it's not in your diary, it's St. Patrick's Day. So I think the cultural diversity makes us rich, makes it a more pleasant experience, and brings a different context to how we make decisions.
Yeah.
But whether that's how the team experiences me would be a question you'd have to put to the team.
Yeah, but I'm sure they are really happy. But thank you so much for sharing this, Michelle. And the statistics part, I really loved it. That makes things more clear. So, like, just a quick now a quick question to Katie as well. So, just before we wrap up, so like we talk, like the Katie, you talked about holding back, and Annie also shared like how she thought twice before asking a question in a room full of people or male. So, what do you have to say about imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome. Do you have any pearls of wisdom or piece of advice to people how to deal with it, like how to explore our capabilities? Because holding ourselves back may, you know, hinder us from going. So, what do you have to share about that?
Yeah, I think just to add, I guess, on that to what I was kind of saying before, I think it's been hardest for me when I've been in a new role. And I'm not sure that I would ever be able to avoid it in that capacity. But for me, the way I guess, get through it is just by making sure I like fully understand everything I need to know about the role, whether that's getting myself in the spirit of my current role, like enabled on what it is that the role entails. If it's a new technology, just going all in and learning everything I can, because that helps me overcome feeling like I'm not sort of competent in a certain area. And then similar, again, to what I was saying before, is just planning sort of things out, like not even just about the role or the career. It's just knowing what it is, like having some kind of strategy on what you want to do and what you want to accomplish can just, makes me feel more confident in what I'm there to do and what I'm there to execute on. And that helps that kind of go away as quick as possible.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Katie. I'm sure we all have felt it at some point. So it is helpful for all of us. And Annie and Michelle and Katie, thank you so much for sharing your experiences and whatever you have seen. It was really interesting, and it gave us a totally different picture of how things happen and what it looks like from the leadership role. So I'm sure each of us wanted to know that. Yeah,
Yeah,
so the
and
yeah.
I think so. I have a lot of takeaway from this group, but there are a lot of people want to know so many things as well. So let's see how much time we have left. But if we can have quick answers, because I really want to address those people who have taken their time out and asking the question. So Anusha want to ask what inspire women in leadership as they're already at tip of pyramid, and what ignite their passion every day to their best. So what's keep you motivated every day? Because probably the people are more stressed when they go up. So, Annie, do you want to take that?
Sorry, Sanel, which question was that one? I was answering another one in the
What
chat. What motivates
it's just
me?
I think
yeah,
Annie
every day.
already
What
replied to that.
motivates you every day?
Well, I'm going to be perfectly honest. So to this point, up till this point in my career, I've been very motivated, very driven, and my boys have recently, hit early 20s, so I'm almost an empty nester. And I'm looking at, we had a major incident last week at the RBA. We were front page news, if anyone read up on that. And I've got a team that I've come into in the last year that are just absolutely fantastic. They know their stuff. They've been there for 20 years. So I'm never going to trump them in their technology, their knowledge of the system. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. So all I can do is help them and support them. What motivates me? Supporting them. But I'm at that point in my time where I think, like Katie, I've got to sit back and assess now. I always thought I wanted to go higher. And do I want to be a CIO and report up to the exco and papers and be? No, I don't think I want to do that. I quite enjoy my weekends and nights. I don't want to be on the hook constantly explaining, what happened. And and am I going to be an expert with my team? They're the experts. So I think for me at the moment, it's paying forward and finding what my groove is. Like what do I want to do? What's next? And I don't know what that looks like yet. So yeah, interesting question and interesting timing for it.
Yeah, definitely. So there is another question from Yusuf: how to keep your team motivated? So Michelle, do you quickly want to give like 3 words? So if I have
Yeah.
to summarize that way, like how you keep your team motivated?
I think it's by keeping the work interesting as much as anything else, as much as you can.
Most important.
So in managed services, these are annuity contracts, they're long term. You trying to create some stability in the team, but equally doesn't mean that we can't rotate people in and out. So it's giving people new opportunities. It's keeping it interesting. It's giving them a chance to learn new skills. But on to Annie's point, the expression I use is pay it forward. So I'm my one of my key passions is supporting the development of people in the team and creating opportunities for them to stretch their wings as much as anything else, to try something new in a safe and supportive environment, because it doesn't make sense to set people up for failure. So that also contributes to the motivation, because it's creating new opportunities and tests. And some people, and I guess other people are, people are motivated by different things. So some people want to go up the career ladder. Some people want to broaden their technical skills. They want to become deep subject matter experts. And it's about understanding what the drivers are and then finding ways to make that work.
Yeah. I think so. It's a very good point you touch base, that enabling the other team members, enabling them, which keep them motivated. Yeah.
I will just build, because it's a bit on, Annie said, own your career. The expression that I use sometimes is that you can lead a horse to water, but then they have to decide to drink. So I create the opportunities, I make things available, but ultimately, if the person in question, the individual in question, needs to decide that they're going to take that step, because you push someone, it doesn't work.
Thank you, Michelle. So being conscious of time as well. We have one more question from Geeta. Do you ever struggle with confidence, and how do you overcome it?
I think this is Katie has already touched base to
Yes.
it quite a lot in detail. So
Yes. So yeah.
So Geeta, probably you might have got your
All of
answer.
you have already shared with us, like, how do you keep yourself confident? So I think with that, should we move ahead,
Yeah,
Son? Thank
yeah.
you everyone
So
for
with
asking the
that,
question.
yeah, with that, I really appreciate first the audience to be so interactive, and apologize if we haven't taken any questions. We are just mindful of time. And a big thank to our speakers for taking the time in their busy schedule. I know, as Annie mentioned, we don't want any hanging sword on around our neck. So I know as you go up, the responsibility become bigger and the challenges become bigger as well. But we all from Women Who Mule APAC team, really appreciative of you committing to this event, taking the time out for us, sharing your experience to have the honest conversation with us, inspiring us. I have a lot of takeaway from this panel discussion today, and accountability, having motivations, whatnot. But I'm just being mindful of time. So thank you, all the speakers. And now we will jump to our next section of the program, which is training. So I guess a lot of people have been encouraged now, but how they get involved, or how they get to, what is the next thing they can do. So I'll pass on to Raquel, and I'll share the screen as well. She is helping us with driving a lot of initiatives. She's MuleSoft training advisor for ANZ. So Raquel, if you can just quickly give us what's happening this month.
Hi. Thank you so much, Sanal. Thanks for having me here today. I did have a few slides, but I will try and get through them as quickly as I can. So firstly, onto the next slide, I'm going to let you all know about our new courses, which come, I guess, together with the MuleSoft automation that we've recently released. And for those of you that haven't heard about MuleSoft automation, it basically makes it easier for you to empower your teams to do a lot more with less. So you're able to move faster with fewer resources, improve how work flows for everyone, and power automations together. And to make it easy for you to learn how to use our new robotics process automation, which is part of the suite of automation tools, we've released a new RPA course. So that is available on both Trailhead and MuleSoft, the MuleSoft training website. So if you just go to the next slide, Sona, you'll be able to see it there. So you have two options. So if you do it via Trailhead, there are 3 different sections there. So you've got the get started with MuleSoft RPA, building RPA processes, trail, and then testing, deploying and managing RPA process trail. And there, if you want to scan either of those codes, it'll take you straight to the website. So you've got that choice there, either through Trailhead or through our training website. But the training website is where you'll find all of our training offerings that MuleSoft has to offer for all of the different tracks for a developer, for an architect, and for operations. So that website is training.mulesoft.com. And then on to the next slide. I know it's running late, but if there's anyone who is certified, please put a little hand up in the chat. Be great to see if any of you are certified out there. And that brings me on to the next slide to let you know about our Certober month, which is basically our largest certification sprint of the year. So there are a few pretty cool, I guess, bits of data here. You know, we've got various different getting started courses that have been happening. We've had hundreds of online certifications. We have 3 exam maintenance sessions. We've offered 12 exam readiness workshops as well. So it's a super exciting time to try and achieve your MuleSoft certification this month. We're also going to be holding a really great virtual certification appreciation event. And for any of you out there interested in getting a free 2-day getting started course valued at $1,500 US, next week we're offering the last of the free courses. So all you need to do is sign up for the free self-paced development fundamentals course, send me an email, and you'll be able to register for the Monday and Tuesday class. So I know it's cutting it fine, but you still have a few days to register if you want to get onto that. So Monday and Tuesday, they're a full day course and it's virtual with an instructor. So it really does mimic that in-person experience and a really fantastic opportunity. So I hope to see some of you there. And then lastly, that's just a link to our current course schedule in our region. So thank you. I'll leave it there because I know we've gone over time, but thank you so much for having me. Keep learning. I think that's a message I've heard here today from all these wonderful women. There are so many options for you out there. So yes, thank you again, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thank you, Raquel. And I really appreciate for you as well taking time out and sharing the schedule and what's going on with the certificate with everyone, because I guess a lot of people are very interested to get certified. And on that note, we have 3 training certificates, a voucher for you guys to grab. So if you guys can share, you can, if you can drop an email, there is a question over there, how you find the session, and if you can share one takeaway which makes a difference in your perspective when you go to Monday on your work. Like, if anything, it could be anything which makes difference, and how you find the session. Tell us that. For the first 3 entries, we will going to give free training vouchers. So I guess this is a golden opportunity, and I know really very, but I'm sure people can respond to that. The emails are on the screen, so you can share the things. All right, and with that, how do you, if you guys want to be part of this this meetup group organize, you can join us in Women Who Mule LinkedIn group as well. We are having Women Who Mule meetup as MuleSoft meetup as well. So what I'm gonna do is probably I'm gonna share the links for that if people don't know where to find them. And I'm just a bit mindful of the time as well. Okay, so Sonima, do you have that handy? Or I'll just,
I'll have to check, Sonu. Just give me a second.
that's fine. I'll probably share this one. So here is the link. Okay, so I'll probably ping that over the chat to everyone to join it. Here are the events. You can join us, and you can find the Women Who Mule APAC region group as well. You can join us there as well. And with that, I really want to thank everyone. There are a lot of topics that we have to cover, and it's, as I said, there is this is your chance, this is your group, this is your community. So please let us know what you want to hear from us, or what you want this group to present to you, whether you want to go more technical, whether you want to get more inspiration. What is the thing that you are looking next from our events? We are happy to do that which interest you guys rather than us. And with that, I really want to thank again to all the speakers for today, to all the attendees for today for taking the time out. And for some, it's a Friday evening, so I can really see people are passionate about our group and about this topic. And also, if Swarnima, Terry's, or Rajneet want to add anything, I have a lot of takeaways. It was really very constructive for me. It has put a lot of perspective in my brain, I would say. And it was really good to hear. And some of the takeaways that I'm getting, to be motivated all the time, to be encouraged, to enable others, to promote others, don't have that self-doubt. So there are plenty. I can
Definitely.
keep on going.
Definitely. Thank you so much. So thank you so much, Sonal, for this. And thank you to all the speakers and the panelists. That was really insightful. Thank you to Raquel for sharing the training details, and each one of you for joining on Friday evening, as well as our event organizers. So thank you everyone for making this event so successful. And go ahead, Therese and Rajneet, if you would like to share something.
Just a big thank you. Nothing more to add. I think time to go enjoy your weekend and Friday nights. Thanks again.
That's right.
And guys
Big thank
who are
you.
having, sorry, Ashneet. Go ahead.
To say a big thank you to you all. Like, it's been amazing to hear your journeys. Definitely a lot to learn for us.
Yeah, yeah. I was just trying to say, happy Diwali, who are celebrating Diwali. So enjoy,
Happy
have a
Diwali
lot
and
of
happy
sweets
weekend.
and crackers. Yeah. All right. With that, thanks everyone for your time, and hope to see you in our next event.
Thank you.
Really
Thanks,
appreciate
everyone.
everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.